You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again with the show the cool kids call the old OB, a.k.a. the Option Block, a.k.a. your bi-weekly source for all things options goodness. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from a little thing we like to call the Options Insider Radio Network, celebrating its 16th anniversary this month and indeed this year. Crazy time. You'll have to be like Disney, where they have a different celebration every year and they find a way to extend it for quite a while. We'll have to figure out a way to suitably celebrate this 16th anniversary. But yes, we do go back to the primordial ooze days of options podcasting. Pre-iPhone, pre-Google Podcast and Spotify, all that crap. None of it existed. You had to have an RSS reader pretty much to get it. Apple iTunes, really. You could get them in there, but that was kind of a long way around to where we are today here, listeners. So fun times out there. Thanks to all of you who've been joining us recently. And, of course, those of you who've been there since day one, you OGs. We love you all out there. Of course, if you do like what you hear, you want to keep the flow going of people into the network, leave a rating or review. It really does help the new folks. You can leave it on the OB feed, leave it on the network feed. You can leave it where our app is found on most of the major stores out there. So your iOS, your Android stores out there, wherever you like to get our content, you can leave a rating or review. It does help new folks continue to discover the content. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want more shows than just the ones that are hitting the network, which are already a lot, admittedly, then theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get more. Over 200 hours now of just exclusive pro content we put together for you folks over there. So you can sign up now and just binge for months and still not finish it up, really. And then, of course, you get to participate in all the new stuff we have going on. Great pro Q&As. Just had Scott Nations on there recently. Got another great pro Q&A lined up for this week. Of course, Options Oddities, the end of every week. Live access to this, everything else we do. And, of course, great giveaways coming up. The Jan box is getting assembled, listeners. Avengers Assemble here. So if you want to get a chance to win that, want to put your name in the hat, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the only way to go to enter said drawing. And let's see who's joining us on the program today. Maybe they want to contend for a fun new prize. We shall see. First, going out to the Southern Volatility Mecca, known as Austin, where we are joined once again by the greasiest of meatballs, Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. Mr. Meatball, welcome back to the show, sir.
Yeah, hey, good to be here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday indeed. All right, listeners, let's see if I bought him enough time to get back into the old St. Charles Wealth HQ, because, of course, joining us from the global financial mecca. Forget about Chicago. It's St. Charles where the action is and the mecca of all that action, stcharleswealth.com, where we are joined by none other than Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, just escaping the mobile office as we speak. Mr. Uncle Mike, are you there, sir?
I am here. Happy to be here as always.
Much better. Much better. I can actually hear you today. That's nice. That's much better than it was a few minutes ago. All right, before we dive into the show, really quickly, this is normally the portion of the show, gentlemen, where I would throw some great 80s wrestling theme at you, and you guys would battle to the death to win a fabulous prize. Of course, we just concluded that game recently. In fact, I do need your address, Mr. Meatball, so we can send you your fabulous Sergeant Slaughter. He's looking at me here. I like him. I'll keep him. But I assume you want your fabulous major award that you won. But B, I would put it out to both of you. What do you want to vie for going forward? Do you want to do the same game? You want to do more 80s wrestling? Is there something else? I think 80s is clearly the theme we have embraced here. But I will open the floor to you folks if you have suggestions. Now is the time or forever hold your peace.
Well, and don't forget, I've got my Masters of the Universe minifigures that we can fight for.
Now, are you offering that up as a prize? So you would then not compete? So then you would be in charge of the contest.
Masters of the Universe minifigures. You got Orko, you got Man-at-Arms, Merman, He-Man, and Skeletor.
I love all things Motu. Motu, you might say, going under a bit of a renaissance these days. It's back on retail shelves. Kids love it again. He-Man, big with the young and old crowd. So all sorts of good stuff. So are you going to then manage said contest?
No, you will do that.
So are you going to fight for your own prize? That's what I was confused about.
Yeah, no. Well, here's what we'll do. If I win, then I'll send them to you, and if Mike wins, I'll send them to Mike.
Oh, I get to win. Oh, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, you should win every now and again.
You're playing.
It's not fair.
I don't mind winning a fun prize. Uncle Mike, what do you say to that? Or do you have an alternate suggestion?
Well, I mean, maybe what we can do, if Longo's not going to compete, Longo does not deserve to win. So my thought...
Someone's still salty from the way the last contest went down. That's all I'm saying. Salty Uncle Mike today.
Cool with that. I mean, Mark can have his Iraqi trader. I'm cool with that. But I think maybe the fair thing to do for Sebastian is maybe I can dig up. I have some of my old, my Brutus Beefcake action figure or something like that. I'd have to see. And we just kind of lay it on the line because a He-Man action figure would be of worth to me. The question is that I believe I'd have to see what I'd be willing to give up. I have Rowdy Piper. I got the Hulkster. I mean, I got a bunch of them. Maybe I can come up with something and we can just have a wager on it.
Ooh, all right. I'm game.
I see your Motu minifigures and I raise you a Rowdy Piper and a Brutus Beefcake.
Or we could pick a listener that I play for. That we send these to.
Well, we do have a lot of listeners who are down for the 80s wrestling and all things 80s as well. So I'm sure many of them would not turn their nose up at winning a fabulous major award from one of those. So should it still be 80s wrestling? Or do you guys want to guess on something else?
I mean, I think it needs to be more trivia than theme songs because I don't know what, with the exception of the fact that you never gave my favorite theme song of Slick, Jive Soul Bro. I think we've done almost all of them that we can for 80s wrestling entrance music. So maybe it should be just wrestling trivia instead.
Ooh. Still wrestling related. Okay. I just want to make sure you don't want to go some other route. Okay. So wrestling trivia. Okay. We might be able to come up with something like that. Listeners, what do you think? This is the point where I turn it to you folks as well. You guys are obviously the reason that we do this show at the end of the day. Let us know what you would like to see for this segment. How would you like to see these two go head to head? If you'd like to see me compete as well, but it's kind of hard for me to compete and also because these two schmoes aren't going to run the contest. I have to also come up with the contest and everything else. So it's kind of hard to do both. I can answer my own question. Unless you listeners want to submit one, we could do that too. But I'm curious. Hit us up, listeners. Let us know as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody. Let's do it. Let's dive on into the old block of trading, see what's lighting up our tape out there today. And it is certainly an Uncle Mike type of day. Most of the major indices feeling their oats here as we're kicking off another week of earnings season. Dow up about 1.4%. The Dow. It's S&P up about 1.4%. The Dow up about almost 1%. And the NASDAQ up a little over about 2.15% over there for the NASDAQ. So a nice, firm green day out there. That means all of our vol friends looking a little bit lesser today. VIX at about 19.5, so back in the teens after flirting with the low 20s very briefly last week, down about 1.7 points from where it was on Thursday's show. VVIX, so the vol of vol, getting back into the 70s, 79 to be precise, down 7 handles from where it was last week. VXX back to a 12, down almost a full point, 0.9 of a point from Thursday's show. UVXY 540, down 0.6 of a point. SVIX 1690, up 9 points. Of course, that's our inverse friend out there. And then UVIX 4.2, down nearly 2 points, 1.8 points. So UVIX once again winning the race to zero, but not for long. It is coming up a couple of days, I believe, until it's glorious reverse split. Then we shall see what we're looking at there. And then VolQ bringing up the rear at a 23, down a little over 1, about 1.15 points from where we were this time last week. Let's go around the horn. Well, let's start with the unclest of Mike's because it is kind of his day. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what's catching your eye? What's lighting up your tape out there today, sir?
Well, of course, the market's higher. We're above 4,000 now in the SPX. That's something that's definitely catching my eye. We held the 3,900 level earlier in the week, in that we pretty much went right to it. We did go below it for a little bit, but it held. Overall, we bounced off of it, with it fracturing it slightly, but we definitely did hold it. So we do have that working in our favor. 3,900's been both support and resistance and whatever you want it to be over the course of the last 6 to 8 months or so, and proved to be support again recently, or at least for earlier this week. A couple other things that I'm seeing is that we are kind of stalled out on the massive bond rally with which we've had over the course of the last few weeks. So we're pulling back a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how much further the bonds go. Definitely going to be steering with all of my steering capability at the Fed announcement in the near future, that's for sure, and anything the Fed will have to say, because that's going to be a big factor in it. We've had kind of the opposite effect so far in 2023 of what we had this past year, and that in 2022, both bonds and stocks went down, but so far in 23, they're both going higher. So we're kind of in inverse bizarro world now, if that makes any sense. Big mover on the day to day is technology in general. Just looking at XLK, that's up $3.50 on the day. A couple big names in there. Of course, Apple's up $4.26 on the day. Microsoft's up over $3. So we do have some movement in the technology space. If we're going to have this market come back and have the big year that I've been saying that I think we could possibly have, I think we are going to be technology led. What's going to be interesting to see is how oil will actually play into this. So in looking at it, do I see oil going to the 120 level this year? No, I don't. I could see it increasing a little bit. I'm not as bullish on energy as I was a year ago, but I could still see it keeping pace with the market. But it's definitely, I don't see that being a leader going forward with where we are. We're still range bound kind of with silver where it is. We're still kind of going between 20 and 22 at those levels. So not a lot of movement there. And then I as much as I say bad things about the holding, I got to say good things about it when it actually goes up. Bitcoin's actually gaining some momentum. So maybe I should start considering Bitcoin. Maybe if it continues to go up, I'll change from my ways and start liking it. Or well, no, let's be honest with ourselves. Even if it went to 100,000 tomorrow, I'd still say bad things about it. So that is my take on the markets today.
Going to say, who are you and what have you done with Uncle Mike praising Bitcoin? What a crazy thing out there. You just lost a ton of the value on your BitcoinReallySucks.com, sir. Talking down that URL, which I know is your prized possession for retirement out there. Let's head on out now to the Southern Volatility Mecca. Mr. Meatball, sir, when you're not gazing at your glorious Motu on your shelf and perhaps preparing a spot for the impending arrival of one Sergeant Slaughter, sir. What is lighting up your tape out there today?
Yeah, we're approaching the highs of the day. The S&P futures are trying to sneak above 50.5. Things are a little stretched here, but the market is pretty darn strong right now. It's got some momentum. Vol is coming off. Apple having a heck of a day. up over 3%, as Mike said. How about the whipsaw in Goldman Sachs, which opened down huge? It is now up over 1.25%. Financials looking really strong. Chips blowing the doors off today. AMD up 8%. Even Intel is up 3.5%. You've got strength in NVIDIA, which is another one. It's up 6.6. So there is just strength in the chip makers across the board. Oil names looking stronger. XLE is up 0.8%, but inside there's some strength. Brazil is moving on this Argentina-Brazil potential currency merger. So you're seeing all the Brazilian names move higher. Notably, PBR is up about 4% today, and Rio's down. But you've just got some strength in Brazil and pretty much strength kind of across the board in a lot of these names. Even, when I look at the individual ETFs, there's not a single ETF that is really showing any real weakness. Materials, the laggard, energy, and the biotech's a little bit of lagging, but the financials, the industrials, the technology, and the consumer discretionary all showing a lot of strength.
A lot of strength indeed. Let's see if we see the same strength out there across the broad span, the broad width of the options market. Let's start in the major indices. And VIX doing decent paper, all things considered, not blowing the doors off, but not a sleepy $1.25 either. 279,000 contracts on the tape right now. That looks even better when you see how the ADV has fallen back down to 537,000. So nothing to sneeze at out there. That's certainly respectable, all things considered. SPY also putting up more than respectable numbers. 6.78 million contracts on the tape right now for SPY. The ADV, 8.21 million. So SPY definitely on course to hit its ADV today. Same can probably be said of the S. 1.8 million contracts on the tape for the S right now. The ADV out there, 2.55 million. Let's do our old song and dance. Let's just look for fun, listeners. Non-zero DTE of the top 20, there are none. Let's go up to the top 40 most active in SPX today. Let's see. There is one. There are two. There are three. So once again, 37 of the top 40 most active contracts in one of the biggest options products on the planet, SPX. Once again, all going the way of the dodo today. This is just fascinating the way this has just taken over and completely transformed this product. It's unrecognizable from what it was even a year ago out there, which again, it has all sorts of unintended consequences. We talk about it on vol views. Is it muting VIX? Is it to blame for a lot of you saying, wow, VIX is broken, it's not doing what I want? Is part of the reason? Look at all this paper, listeners. How can it not be having an effect on VIX, right? So yes, many unintended consequences. In fact, that was the name of our show on Friday's vol views out there. Check it out if you missed it out there. But still, impressive numbers. The S closing in on 2 million contracts right now. In fact, we need a special scan now to find the non-zero DTE contracts. The most active non-zero DTE contract in the SPX right now, 8,500 of the Jan 4,100 calls, and these are expiring tomorrow. So you're talking a 24-hour trade as opposed to just expiring today. And that's it. I mean, how much of this 1.8 million contracts is all going the way of the dodo? Spoiler alert, an enormous amount, an enormous percentage. Just ridiculous what we're seeing out there. Fascinating. Pick your adjective, positive or negative. They all probably apply out there right now. Small caps, 513,000 contracts on the tape. The ADV, 748,000. The Qs, 2.1 million. The ADV, 2.7 million. Let's go out to the single names, see what's lighting it up. I mean, it is earnings season. You expect the single names to not be forgotten out there today, and that is indeed the case. In fact, I often joked when you see Alphabet hitting our top 10, that's usually a sign it's a pretty quiet day. Maybe it's August or it's December. We're doing $1.50 to break into the top 10. Not the case today. It is Alphabet at number 10, but we're doing a whopping 270,000 contracts in ye old Alphabet, up nearly $2, about $1.80, flirting with the 100 level. Hit 99.99 today before bouncing off of it. So a nice little run up there from the 52-week low they set not too long ago of 83.34. So a nice little run here for Alphabet. Number 9 is kind of our perennial number 9er now. It's Softy, 244 and change, up nearly $4, 1.65%. Man, they're just loving these waves of layoffs in the tech land, listeners. The workers, not so much. The street loving it, can't get enough of it. Really seems like Meta kicked the door down for that, saying, hey, let's lay some people off. Not a thing we really see in tech very often. And everyone is just following suit out there like clockwork. Amazon, Softy, Google, you name it. So fascinating stuff out there. And the streets rewarding all of them for it, which you could argue is the reason they do it at the end of the day. But intriguing stuff nonetheless. Number 8, let's go to good old Netflix. This one kind of been lighting up our tape of late. Netflix up 5.5% or 18.75. They've doubled almost since May, these shares. Wow. 361.25, up 18.75 handles today. Netflix, 307,000 contracts on the tape. Number 7, right behind it. Good old S-Bucks, another one that was kind of a secondary name down there on the SEBO. Beamer was the big name in that pit, but if you were bored, you wanted something else to trade. S-Bucks was also out there as well, trading 106 and about 2/3 today, up about $1.60 or 1.6%. Nice little run for them, doing 341,000 contracts. Taking the number 7 spot. Number 6 and number 5, we got our old friends, the old school symbol twins, slotting in there. Haven't seen them back-to-back in a while. Number 6 is AMC, 582, up 30 cents today. Let's just see. What are folks slinging out there in AMC? What's the hot thing in AMC? 41,000 of the March 2 puts. $5.83 stock, the March 2 puts. Trading like wildfire out there. Wow. Okay. Hey, to each their own out there. Fascinating. Looks like we have a bit of a vertical up here, the Jan. Oh, no. It looks like maybe a collar or a strangle. The 5 puts in Jan next week against the 6 calls, going up 15,000 times. Maybe they sold them both for a combined 36 cents. Either way, that's 30,000 of your 378,000 contracts out there. A lot of paper in AMC today. Followed right behind it by its symbol twin, AMD. Heading into the chip zone, 471,000 contracts, $75.50 is where it's trading, up $5.50. Getting back to the meatballs point, the chip zone getting a nice lift today, up 7.8%. That's quite the pop, and they are over $20 north of their 52-week low that they set. Let's see how long. It wasn't that long ago. Everyone was complaining about the end of AMD. So when was that? That was back in October as well. So they had a little bit of time to make that back. AMD good for 471,000 contracts. Number 4, yes, I said number 4 today. It's the Amazonians, 527,000 contracts. About 97.60 is where it's trading, up 30 cents. So Amazon not feeling the love that the rest of the street is feeling today out there on the tech side. Maybe they already got their pop, seems like, from their layoffs. So maybe not a lot of love for them, but enough for paper, 527,000 contracts. But they have been eclipsed by the other half of the chip zone, listeners. It is NVIDIA coming in at number 3 today, 531,000 contracts on the tape. NVIDIA roaring out of the gate, up 12 handles, trading 190.33 right now. My goodness, man, they're a long way from their 52-week low of 108. When they hit that back in October as well. Yes, 108.13 was their low, trading 190.40 right now. Quite the resurgence here for NVIDIA. Number 2, looking like it's regaining a little bit of its former luster, listeners. It's Apple, back in an M handle. I haven't seen Apple putting up a million contracts in, quite some time. 1.12 million contracts out there for Apple today. Yeah, up about 443 or 3.22%. So a good day for Apple, as the meatball alluded to, and good paper, 1.12 million contracts. So haven't seen an M with Apple in a while. I told you, the market just likes a day when Apple is green. It doesn't know what to do with itself. Doesn't know what to do with its hands on a day when the market is red. All falls apart. And Apple volume falls apart as well. But today, looking good. That means number 1 still, but nowhere near as dominant as it has been. Some days this past couple of weeks, we've seen Tesla doing 2.5, 3x what Apple is doing from a volume perspective. Not today, listeners. Tesla eking it out, 1.36 million versus 1.12 million for Apple. Tesla up about 10, almost $10.50, about 10 1/3, 143.75 right now. Quite the run for them. They were just hitting their 52-week low not too long ago. Everyone's like, oh my God, the end is here for Tesla. 101.81. That was, I think it was this year, right around, was that Jan 3rd? They closed at 108, but I think they hit it at that time. It was around that time frame, yeah. So, yeah, January 3rd. Interesting times here. But Tesla, 1.36 million contracts on the tape. Let's see what we got out here for earnings this week, listeners. It's a pretty hot one, as you might imagine. We are in it again. Verizon on Tuesday. J&J, GE, Microsoft, and Capital One. Wednesday, we got Boeing, AT&T, Progressive, Abbott Labs, Tesla, and Beamer. Thursday, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, JetBlue. So all the airlines just crowding in, as well as MasterCard, Intel, and Visa. Friday, Chevron and Amex out there. We've got, let's see, who do we have reports for in our hot little hands, courtesy of our friends over there in Orat's Land. Baker Hughes popping off before the bell today. $31 is where they went into their announcement. They're pricing in 4.5%. Get this, listeners, they moved 0.1%. My goodness. And now, even a couple hours later, they're still only off about $0.25. So, wow. A whole bunch of underperformance here for Baker Hughes. Wow. Premium sellers unite out there around the majesty that is Baker Hughes doing absolutely nothing. We've also got Synchrony before the bell today. 35.5 is where they were going into their announcement. They were pricing in 5.7%. They moved 1.2%. So, wow. Also a whole bunch of nothing. They have since dropped more. They were right around $35 when we ran this report. They're 34.25 now. So they've dropped $0.75. So starting to get closer to their straddle. They're still only off about 3.25% versus pricing in nearly 6%. So impressive stuff. GE tomorrow before the bell, 77.68 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 3.56. In the past, they've moved 3.25. So not a heck of a lot of extra juice there. J&J, same deal, 168.75, pricing in 3 double. In the past, they've moved 3.35. Softy, they're tomorrow after the bell, 240.25. Again, we talked about this. They're pricing in $10.80. In the past, they moved 8.53. Hard to argue more juice isn't warranted out there, given what's been unfolding of late with them and with the tech scene in general. Boeing, let's see, the 25th before the bell, 206.75. They're pricing in 8.81. In the past, they moved 4.41 out there. Let's go out to AT&T tomorrow before the bell, 19.25. They're pricing in 80 cents. In the past, they've moved 75 cents. So not a heck of a lot of extra juice there today. And let's go here to IBM. They are 25th after the bell. And they're pricing in 141.20. That's what their stock was. They're pricing in 5.75. In the past, they moved 7.13. So less juice here for good old IBM. Tesla, name a lot of you are waiting for. 25th after the bell. 133.5 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $11.80. In the past, listeners, get this, they've moved $6.96. So, yes, spoiler alert, they're pricing in a whole heck of a lot of extra juice. Not quite a 2Xer, but pretty freaking close, all things considered out there, listeners. Wow, that's a lot of juice. American Airlines, 26 before the bell. 16.34. They're pricing in 89 cents. In the past, they moved 79 cents. And then Love, good old American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, $37. They were on 26 before the bell as well. They're pricing in $1.48. In the past, they've moved $1. So that's a fair amount of extra juice, all things considered, for Southwest Airlines. Get out of here on my old stomping grounds. Let's go to Intel, 26 after the bell, 29.25. They're pricing in $2.08. In the past, they've moved $2.44. All right, let's see. Earnings. That's all the upcoming earnings. We have more to list, listeners. I just don't have time to get into all of them here. You can check them out for yourselves, as well as the earnings season report, which right now is hanging out with a whopping 31 firms reporting, so still very early. 114%, so we are still outperforming. After the banger of last cycle, we're up to a 92% overall in terms of what we've seen from every name since we started tracking this, pretty much since before the pandemic, listeners. So that's a lot of data, averaging at about a 92%. Right now we're at 114, but again, the season is young, listeners. And then, of course, you have the earnings trades report. We're monitoring 37 long straddles and 19 long calendars. Of course, in the past, we've tracked over almost 400 long straddles and about 320 long calendars and even 130 short calendars. Don't tell anybody about those. Guys freaked out about those. We took them off the report, but we still have them tracked here in the database for fun. So if you want to check out all that fun for yourselves, there's only one place to go, listeners, theoptionsinsider.com. That's the place to go. Click on the Options News and Articles tab. And we like you folks. It's all free. Click away till your heart's content as we keep on rolling right on into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody. Let's do it. Let's unleash the Eye of Sauron, see where it fixes its fiery gaze this week, listeners. We're going out to a big name that we haven't talked about in quite some time here on the show. Hasn't really been that exciting, but today it's certainly making up for lost time. This is GE. They are popping off. Actually, they popped off, looks like this morning, 8 a.m. Eastern here. So, or are they tomorrow before the bell? Let me look really quickly here, listeners. Yes, they are tomorrow before the bell, I should say. So there we go. Tomorrow before the bell, hence this flurry of paper going up here, the immediate pre-earnings paper we're seeing out here, listeners. GE, of course, you know the symbol. I won't insult you by telling you the symbol. Trading $79.50 right now. Up nearly $4 in the past year. Kind of been a bit of a weird lost year for GE. A year ago, it was trading $75.62 out there. And then it got down to as low as 46 3/4. That was in July. And then it threatened that low again in September before rallying on a massive rampage right now, back up to $80.50. That was just last week. Now hanging out at $79.50. So good times out there, listeners, for GE fans, at least the last few months certainly have been. And of course, we have earnings tomorrow, Mr. Meatball. So that means some fun is in the offing, including just a massive print that went up here this morning. And this is kind of the way with GE. It's kind of sleepy, and then it just puts up some crazy numbers. And today is certainly in the latter category. We saw this first go up. I mean, first saw a massive block of 49,185 of the Jan 71 puts expiring next week. So these are weeklies. That also makes it weird. Going up pretty much right around the bid. There were 23 cents. This is a 71 vol, as meaningful as such numbers are in a weekly contract here. The stock was a little lower, actually, 78.69 when they put this on. And then we initially saw this and thought, wow, okay, this is a crazy 1x2, because we also saw 25,000 of the Jan 74 puts going up, also expiring next week for 63 cents. Looks like paper bought those. So it seemed like the paper lined up perfectly. It looked like a perfect 1x2, paper buying it for 17 cents, buying one, selling two. When we went back and looked, we noticed actually they didn't go up as a spread. They went up about an hour and a half apart, which makes it kind of weird. It could certainly be two separate but eerily sized similar trades. Someone could just really hate the heck out of the 71 puts, and someone could also just really love exactly half of the 74 puts an hour and a half later. But I don't know. I've been doing this for a while. I tend to believe when it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So there's probably a little bit of wonkiness going up with when these trades were actually put up. But I don't know. Let's go out to the Southern Volatility Mecca. Maybe he vehemently disagrees with that analysis. He thinks they are completely separate trades. Mr. Meatball, A, did you see these massive prints going up in GE? And then what do you think? Even though they are distant prints, do you subscribe to the fact that this is a 1x2?
Yeah, they are separated by a good amount of time. I don't know if it is they went up on different exchanges, and at way different prices, an hour and a half apart. So pretty distant from each other. I'm not 100% certain that these are the same print. They would make sense if they were. 49,000 of the 71 puts versus the 74 puts. It would make a lot of sense if they were. Maybe the trader was trying to leg it, because the 71s are definitely a sale and the 74 is definitely a buy. So it makes sense as a pair. So I would not argue with you if you told me that they were, but it definitely, is a little weird execution of the whole spread.
If he was legging it, he did all right because the stock moved about 30 odd cents in his favor while he was waiting. So, I mean, there is risk, obviously, huge delta risk if you're legging something like this. Listen,
yeah,
why you don't normally see that. But in this case, it worked in his favor. He got 30 odd cents better level in terms of where the stock was when he bought the 74 puts versus when he sold the 71 puts, that's exactly the way you want it to work out. So if he did leg it, then I take my hat off to you out there. It's just very strange to see this amount. Why would you want this amount of a delta risk, especially it's weird enough already to have this massive 1x2 going up next week. Obviously, very focused on the earnings here. And then B, to leg it on top of that on different exchanges. The whole thing just smells weird, listeners. Now, hit us up. Let us know. What do you folks think? You've been listening to this show for a while. You're starting to get pretty familiar with how these weird trades go up. What do you think is happening? You think it's just completely unrelated paper? It is two separate exchanges after all. Or is it just someone trying to be perhaps a little bit too clever by far? Kind of worked out in their favor this time, but if you're legging 25,000 lots, probably not going to work out too well for you in the long run. Let's keep on going out here. Let's go out to an area of the world you were just talking about, Mr. Meatball. In particular, we've got an ADR out of that neck of the woods. We've got Rio Tinto PLC, ticker symbol RIO, RIO. You know this one. We talked about it before, listeners, here on the show. Trading 78 and a third. Actually about an unched today. It's had only about a 60 odd cent range. That's not nothing, but not whipping around perhaps as much as you might expect. On the year, a bit of a different story. $73 a year ago. So they are net up on the year, but they had to work for it. They sold off down to $51 pretty much back in September. And that was their low for the year. Ever since then, they haven't really looked back. They've rallied pretty much all the way back up to where they are right now, $78 and change. So a nice little recovery over the last few months here for Rio Tinto PLC. And it looks like, Mr. Meatball, somebody thinks this is about all she wrote for Rio, at least for the near future here. They came in this morning and blasted away on 10,000 of the March 85s. They sold these, looks like, for 88 cents when the stock was 78 and a quarter. So pretty much right here. Stock hasn't budged since they traded these. There are going to be earnings coming up, and they are on February 22nd, listeners. So there is some earnings juice baked in here. So I'm curious for you. Does that change your calculus? Do you like these less with the earnings in there, or does it not really matter for you? You're getting 88 cents. That's about a 27 vol. It's not explosive, but it's not nothing either. I'm curious, what do you think of these listeners? And Mr. Meatball, what do you think of this call overwrite in your favorite name here, Rio Tinto PLC?
Yeah, I mean, the earnings are coming up sometime soon. Vol is always relatively high in this one. And, you're looking to get some primo, and you're okay selling it at 80, a little under $86. So that'd be a nice move higher. So makes total sense to me. Collect about they get 88 cents out of it. That's not a bad little trade.
Not a bad little trade at all. Let's see if our last one qualifies as not a bad little trade as well. Let's go out to something we talked about a few times recently, including on Options Oddities. Check out that show if you haven't, listeners, over there on the pro side. This is RLX Technology. This is a ADR. Ticker symbol RLX, appropriately enough out here. This is coming out of China, if you're not familiar here, listeners. Let's see, 278 right now. A year ago, was trading about $3, $3.50 actually. So they were a wee bit higher a year ago. And they had some troubles, shall we say. Last year, they got down to, still not 100%, as you could tell. There we go. Feel a little better now. All right, let's keep rolling there. A year ago, $3.50 here on the old RLX. And then it sold off hard in the March timeframe. I wonder what could have happened there to spook everybody. $1.22 is where it hit. Then it rallied again, got up to about 240 on June 27th. And they started coming for it again, got back down to its low for the year of 90 cents in October. And since then, had a nice run. Wow. A three banger here, all the way back up to 280 where it is right now. So not a bad little run here for RLX. And it seems like Mr. Meatball, someone is buying what RLX is selling. They came in this morning and said, you know what? I need to play in this name. I need to dip my hands here in some upside in RLX. They scooped up 2,500 of the Feb 3s. They paid 20 cents for these bad boys. This is old school paper here. Listen, this is a 103 vol. That's that's music to my ears. That's 2021 vol levels right there. The stock was right about here, 2 3/4 when this trade went up. There are no earnings. The next earnings is going to be on March 10th. So they're not getting any earnings love for this, which is why it's only 20 cents. Mr. Meatball, what are your thoughts here on somebody swinging for the fences here in your new favorite name, RLX Technology Inc.?
Yeah, this is a new one for me. I don't usually look at RLX, $2.78 stock. But yeah, there is just a ton of paper in this one. They're buying Feb, they're buying April, just pretty busy across the board. Interestingly, not in huge blocks. These are going up in 300 and 400 lots. So, you know, they're biding their time as they buy these. So they're just kind of slow playing these to the upside. And that's what we're seeing here.
And you know who's always slow playing, you listeners? It's the uncleist of Mikes. So let's get to him.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, buddy. Welcome to the Strategy Block, the portion of the show where we unleash the uncleist of Mikes. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what is lighting up your tape out there in a distinctly Uncle Mike type of day?
I'm actually going to talk about an individual name today because it's a name that I didn't recommend and I inherited. And there's an option twist to this story. So I want to talk about it. So in late November, early December 2021, I got a new client. And within this new client's account, she had a bunch of stocks that she had made some money on. And she was just kind of looking at some stocks herself, but she just pretty much said she didn't really like doing it and she wanted someone else to take over her account. And so we talked, and then just upon looking through her account, some of the stocks she had already sold for profit, some of the stocks she already had not. This was not an IRA, so taxes did matter within this account. And so on there, to complicate matters even further, the client was taking Social Security, but not full retirement age. So what that means is that there's a certain age that you can take Social Security, but if you're not the full retirement age, then if you work too much, your Social Security will get taken away from you. Now, once you're full retirement age and you're taking Social Security, then you're fine. You can work all you want. But in her case, she was still working just enough so she could still get her Social Security payment. But she knew that if she worked too much, she would get penalized for it. Kind of ironic how that works in our Social Security system, but that's the way it is. So with this one stock that she had, it was ticker symbol FLGT. I knew nothing about the stock, still know nothing about it, but this was a stock that she had bought at a very low level, and it was trading up in the in the upper 90s. And so, she bought it in the low 50s. It was trading in the upper 90s. So kudos to her. She was, if I were her, I would have enjoyed that, but she apparently didn't enjoy doing it. But she was concerned because after a conversation with her accountant, had we sold that stock, that could have, number one, it would have been a short-term gain. So she would have been taxed at the ordinary income rate. And number two, it could have been considered income in the eyes of the Social Security people. And so from there, what we had to do is figure out a way for her to hold this stock, but then it was a pretty concentrated position of this account because it had increased so much. And so we were in quite the pickle. Well, thankfully, if you're in quite the pickle, there's a way with which you can use options to eat that pickle at times, and that's what we did. So after a long conversation with her accountant, what we decided to do was put on a 1-year collar in that she could not take on any capital gains or any ordinary income until January of this year, actually. Maybe a little bit sooner, but what we wanted to do is postpone any gains as long as we could. So what we did is we put on the January 80-140 collar. We actually got a very slight credit for it. And by doing that, what we were able to do is lock in a gain at the 80 level. So that way, because the account was so concentrated, that we didn't have to worry about one stock going down because you have such an undiversified portfolio. That was something that she may or may not have felt relief from, but I know I sure did just in looking at it. So that was one thing that we did. We were able to accomplish with that. Now, the second thing that we were able to do by doing that was that we were able to set it up to where she could turn that short-term gain into a long-term gain. So that way, instead of being taxed at ordinary income, she's actually taxed at the long-term rate. And so that can be of great benefit to where if your income level is low enough, let's say you're retired and you're living off muni bonds, if that's the case, then if you have just a long-term capital gain and you have no income, then you pay zero on that long-term capital gain. So that was another thing that we were able to do to benefit that client. Now, from there, we now have cash in that account because that put was finally exercised last Friday. And so when we took that over, the stock was at the mid-90s, and then now that stock's at $33 a share. So that's an example of how you can use options as an investment tool. A lot of people think that options are just something that you do for speculation, which they can be, of course. But in this instance, this was a way with which we benefited her a very sizable portion of her portfolio by not only providing risk management, but also providing a tax benefit, and on top of that, providing an income benefit. So that's just a real life case scenario of how options can be of benefit in a way that can be used as a tool for your long-term money, which not a lot of people like to admit, but that's a real life example of how we just did it. And that is the strategy block for today.
Thank you for that, Uncle Mike. And now let's keep on rolling right on into Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on for the coming week until our next episode on Thursday. Gotta admit, I didn't hate handing the reins over to Uncle Mike, giving my voice a rest here a little bit. All this talking fire. I thought I was feeling better. All this talking here, firing it up. Our chat worrying about me. Nickel saying, yeah, well, boss, Nickel, we need your options. I'm all right. Don't worry. I'm fighting through. I grabbed a lozenge while Uncle Mike was talking. That does seem to be calming the demon. So I'll have enough left in me for a little bit of the old crypto a little bit later today. But let's see what you folks got left in you here for some of your questions of the week before we get to what we're watching here really quickly. We asked you guys last week, this zero DTE thing, it exploded last year. Is it just a fad or the wave of the future? This came up because we've been talking about these a lot. Obviously, a lot of people like them, but they're not without issue. A lot of people who are maybe hardcores in the space, professionals, industry folks, kind of look at this kind of paper as very akin to gambling, and they're not huge fans of it. Most recently, we just did that pro Q&A with Scott Nations. He was very dismissive of these. He thought these were this and gold. He hated both of them. Hates gold. And he thought this whole zero DTE trend was a fad. We kind of debated it on some other shows, and we thought we would put it out to you folks, the ultimate arbiters for all things markets. Quite simply, are they a fad or are they here to stay? And exactly 2/3, 66.7% of you saying, you know what? They're here to stay. Only about 1/3 of you folks agreeing with Mr. Nations that they are indeed a fad. So intriguing stuff. I have to admit, you know, the volume is kind of convincing. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I think these exchanges are all for-profit public entities now. They're going to see this wave and they're going to try to ride it. So I think we're going to see more of these in the future, not less, not exactly the Apples and Teslas everybody wants yet. I've said that a million times already, but we will see more efforts to probably go indexes first, cash settled, obviously, and then maybe slowly expand from there as we keep on rolling. So intriguing stuff. Mr. Meatball, A, are you surprised? I'm guessing not because you're a big convert to these, but are you surprised that our audience went with the fact that the weeklies of Zero DTE are here to stay, that they are not a fan? And B, what are you watching for the rest of this week, sir?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. We have some big earnings coming up. That's going to be huge. We have PCE on Friday. We've got just a slew of data hitting along with these earnings. I think that's going to drive markets. It's going to be interesting. I'm also watching what we do today, because we are in overbought territory here. If you look at the ways a lot of these algos have been trading, and wondering when we're going to see the other, the algo stop buying and see some money come off the table. We're getting dangerously close to some of these overbought. Maybe we get a little sell the news on some of these earnings. So watching that closely, and then I'm keeping a close eye on the volatility index and what it does over the next couple of days.
What is this volatility index you speak of? I'm unfamiliar, sir. Tell me about this thing.
Yeah, you might have heard of the VIX.
The Vikes. Yes, I think you're mispronouncing it. The Vikes, yes. Known far and wide out here, the Vikes. Let's keep on rolling. Mr. Uncle Mike, hey, by the way, Mr. Uncle Mike, our pro folks here liked your strategy block, Options Queen, saying, I really like that strategy block. Wouldn't have thought to do that with options for the Social Security benefits. So there you go, Uncle Mike. The pro folks giving you a thumbs up, sir.
Gotta love it. Thank you very much, Option Queen.
And what are you watching for the rest of the week, sir?
Well, first off, you mentioned the Vikes, but didn't they get eliminated last week in the playoffs, I thought?
They did. They threw for 3 yards when they needed 8. Oh, by the way, Uncle Mike, really quickly, how much did you love that final play from Dallas? So that had to be one of the greatest football plays in terms of construction that I've ever seen. And by greatest, I mean most absurd, ridiculous, poorly thought out thing.
Well, I mean, Jerry Jones is a client of mine and a good friend, so I don't want to bash the Cowboys on the air.
Okay.
He is not, but anyway. So in terms of what I'm watching, what is unique about where we are today, I think Mark raises a good point, today being an important day. Are we going to close above 4,000? Are we going to hold the 4,000 level? And right now, we're having a very strong day of buyers. Is this going to be the beginning or the end? But I think that 4,000 is a key number for today, especially with everything going on going into earnings. I think we need to be careful. And I'm still a very big bull for this year. But whenever you have a market that goes up this quickly like it has, so for example, on just last Thursday, the low last Thursday was 38.85. And so if we go up 150 points over the course of essentially 2 trading sessions, that's a pretty big move. So this is one where just be careful out there, folks. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now going into this week for any short-term trades with which you have. For buy and hold stuff, hold it, buy it, hold it like you planned on doing initially. But anything in your trading account, be very careful right now.
That's coming from the Permabull, saying be careful out there, listener. That's good advice for any day of the week in this crazy age we all live in, listeners. Unfortunately, that music means we come to the end of another epic bit of fun through the world of options. What did you folks think about that crazy Dallas play? Send your linemen all the way out to the sides, put your running back in center. Why not? Why wouldn't you do such madness out there? Good times to be had. If you want more good times, listeners, head on over to the Pro. That means you'll be getting the crypto rundown in a little bit after this show. And, of course, all the other goodness we've got slotted for you here throughout the rest of the week. But before we go, let's go back around the horn. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks want to check out all the mountain of content that is the Uncle Mike content empire, where should they go? What should they do?
Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW. And if you're looking for a financial advisor who can talk about options and Social Security in the same sentence and have it be applicable occasionally, reach out to me. Check out my website, stcharleswealth.com.
Uncle Mike, nothing if not applicable. Check him out over there, stcharleswealth.com, or give him a follow on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW, all one word, on the old Twitter machine. And Mr. Meatball, sir, when you're not battling it out for awesome Motu collectibles, sir, where should folks go to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm writing VIX content every day. Go to optionpit.com and read what we have to say. I think we'll help you become a better trader.
There you go. Optionpit.com is the place to go. Got to get on out of here. Got to rest my voice for the next dose coming up in a little bit. All you pro folks will get that live in your ear holes. The rest of you folks, when it hits the network. Back throughout the rest of this week. There is a big STA show coming to town this week, listeners. I will be heading down to that for a little bit. Pleased to say the VolX folks, the now Demand Derivatives, coming to town for a big event tomorrow. That should be interesting as well, talking all things realized vol. So a lot of fun happening in Chi-Town here this week. Don't worry, I'll be back on the network for your usual allotment of shows, and we'll be back here again on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.